Hello and welcome to another Dragonstorm Studios production. In our current series, we're looking at Magic the Gathering YouTube content creators. We're doing portraits for them. And today's subject is Olivia Gobert-Hicks. Olivia is a member of the Commander Advisory Committee. She's often a guest on the Command Zone show Game Nights, and I've seen her several times on the Tolarian Community College show as well. So she's very well versed in the community. She's very active on Twitter, and she does run a show on Channel Fireball called At a Table with Friends, which has amazing banter to it. If you've never checked it out, please do so. So this individual often is portrayed as Teysa Karlov, the self-proclaimed commander evangelist herself, often cosplays as as this character. I actually don't know much about Teysa. I've never played with the cards before in Commander, and I've also only read a little bit about her lore from the War of the Spark and Forsaken books that came out about a year ago now, I suppose, maybe over a year. But I think it would be too easy to portray Olivia as Teysa Karlov. As you've learned, I'm sure, by watching this channel, if you have, we don't do anything easy, nowhere expected. So we have covered a couple of members of the Gatewatch, and Liliana is technically a part of that. I think she still is anyways by the end of the series. But either way, they often go up against multi-dimensional, multi-planar threats like Nicobolus. And since we've already kind of covered Jace and Chandra, we're going to look at Liliana. And Liliana is a fantastic subject for a drawing because she's fascinating as a character. She's had so many story arcs and interesting iterations, and the fact that her loyalties are constantly in question is wonderful. She's like an ogre who's like an onion. She's got layers and she's fabulous. So I decided to portray Olivia Gobert-Hicks as Liliana. So here's the great reveal of the picture so far. Like many of the drawings we've talked about on this channel, this was not a first attempt. There were several I had to make before I got the facial structure correct, but I'm pretty happy with this one right here. And another thing I like to do on the show is to actually do some drawing. So we're going to do a bit of that here today. So I've got my trusty paper. This way I'm not going to get graphite all over my hand. And we're going to work on drawing a moon with pencil, which sounds easy, but actually can be quite challenging to do and to make look realistic. So I took some time to already begin working on the background. I'm going to keep working on that while I chat. And if you see my videos before, you know I'm using the overhand grip technique, which is using more of the side of the pencil to complete, you couldn't see that last part, sorry, to complete the filling in of space here. And it's a great way of doing so quickly, effectively, but also with the right amount of pressure that you need. And all of that pressure comes from my forefinger as I'm working away here. I've laid out for myself on the right here a circle for where I want the moon to be, but the circle actually doesn't represent the moon itself. It just represents where the night sky, being as dark as it is, ends. So there'll be a glow around the moon before I actually draw the moon itself. And the moon, much like the sun in our last video with evil CGB, the moon does not have an outline around it. So we're going to have to use some pretty circumspect tools and techniques to make that work. So I'm just making sure you can actually see what I'm still doing here. Unfortunately, my sketchbook is on the larger size. So as a result, I've got to constantly check my camera to make sure I'm not drawing off of the screen. I also figured it might be worth just kind of talking very briefly about some of the goals I have on this channel in the near future, because I have now covered quite a few, in fact, all of the content creators that I follow pretty regularly. And if you have any requests on people, especially in the Magic the Gathering community, who you want me to draw next, I'm very glad to take some of those requests. I have a couple more lined up coming up. But the series has gone on now for, I think this is part 9 of the series. And as much as I love Magic the Gathering, and I love YouTube videos, I'm running out of people that I actually watch on a regular basis. So if you have requests, please feel free to ask for them. Another thing too is that I want to create a larger picture. I want to create something a bit more along the lines of what I showed earlier with this beautiful kind of group shot. Almost reminds you of the Justice League or the Avengers. You've got these planeswalkers all in a great epic battle. The problem with drawing a portrait is that to do a portrait effectively, I've got to draw them at least this large. If not, unfortunately, they just don't look good because you need that size. You need to get the details in there to effectively portray a person. In fact, even the portrait of Olivia here is a little on the small side and it's not as detailed as some of the other ones I've done in the past. Normally they take up most of the page and they're obviously more detailed as a result. But until then, let me know in the comments if there's anyone in particular that you want me to draw. All right, so I think in the interest of time, because we're already 6 minutes into this video, I'm going to just go to the technique at this point. I'll keep working on the background after off camera, just so that I am not wasting your time. That's one of the reasons why I did this area here around the glow of Liliana's necromancy, necrotic powers. I'm going to take a blending stomp. And a blending stomp is simply a bunch of paper that's been compressed into a stick. And we saw this in the last video as well. They come in different sizes. And I'm going to use all of that great darkness that I produced for the background there. I'm going to drag it out into this area that I've kind of left saved for the moon. And what that's going to do is it's going to slowly graze. It's going to slowly lighten the tone toward the middle where I want that moon to go. And again, I didn't lay out where the moon's going to go in pencil because I don't want it to stand out too much. This glow effect, the edge of that glow effect, will determine the edge of the moon itself. So let's stop around about there. You can already kind of see how that effect is really creating a glow around the moon itself. And when you were a kid, you might have drawn the moon with a bunch of craters on it. And certainly you can see the craters with the naked eye in some cases. But we're not going to draw them as perfect circles. We're going to kind of draw them as these nebulous sort of shapes. They're circular, but they're not perfect circles. And that will kind of just show those areas of the moon that have taken the brunt of the beating from asteroids and other celestial bodies over time. And that just creates a more subtle effect. It's not quite so cartoony. Kind of elevates our work a little bit there. So you can kind of see how that's turning out, looking, I think anyways, pretty darn good. I also can use that blending stomp just to even out some of the dark shading I've got in the sky there. I can kind of just go over that. The only downside to this is that it's really having an amazing dark effect on the blending stomp itself. So before I use that blending stomp again, I'm just going to clean it off. I'm just going to drag some of that darkness off on some scrap paper. And that just helps to keep my next drawing from getting too dark too fast. Gives me control over the situation that way. So it's a great effect there. Now, if this were Seattle or Los Angeles, it'd be fine because the city lights will get rid of most of the stars. But if you've got stars to add to your picture, if it's out in the countryside, like here on outside maybe Vest Manor, we want to add some stars in that. And one great way of doing that, which we're not going to actually demonstrate today because we're running a little low on time, we can take some acrylic paint and a skewer as if we were making shish kebabs and just kind of put some paint there, some little blobs of paint to show the stars there. I might show that in another video perhaps. But that's our technique for today, our technique on drawing the moon there. So I hope you found that enjoyable and helpful. Hope the reveal was interesting to you, and seeing Olivia Gobert-Hicks portrayed as Liliana Vess I hope you have a wonderful day. If you would do those wonderful YouTube things as well, like, share, and subscribe if you feel that the video merits it, that would be awesome. Otherwise, have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.